What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're reacting to Film Theory I Solved the Book of Bill. Yeah, this was a long time coming video. When I heard that someone solved the Bill book, I had to check it out. I mean, Gravity Falls was a really good show, and it was a fan favorite of mine that Disney made. Not like Cartoon Network did anything good. Sorry. I just have issues with Cartoon Network after things they did. Anyway, fairness aside, what to expect from this? Well, we're gonna get the book solved, so not much really to say on the matter, I guess. In all honesty, I guess there isn't really much to say about the book, unless you want a very detailed thing about that, but I haven't read the book all that much. Sorry. Doing other stuff around here, and honestly, it takes up more time than I would like to admit. I really wanted to finish the book, but it is what it will be. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when a video comes out, and be alerted when videos like these come out as well. If you have any videos what you would like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. Now, other than that, let's start this video, shall we? Oh, and the link to this video will be down in the description below, so if I haven't said that, it is down there, and it will be there for sure. And be sure to give Film Theory some love and support for the videos I made. Now, with all that said, let's start this video.
Hello, Internet! This time, you're on your own.
Actually, no. No, you're not. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, where that some sunny day is finally here. Yeah, you know what that means. The one-eyed triangular 2D demon Bill Cipher has returned to wreak havoc on the world of Gravity Falls. Well, sort of. If you don't know, Gravity Falls was an animated series on Disney XD created by mystery mastermind and theorist champ Alex Hirsch. The show's about twins Dipper and Mabel Pines, who spent summer vacation with their grunkle Stan in the small town of Gravity Falls, Oregon. Here, they encounter all sorts of mysteries and codes and cryptids, gnomes that kidnap kids, and killer animatronics before they were cool. But most importantly, they help defeat Bill Cipher, a demon from the second dimension with godlike powers who was hellbent on conquering the world. This show was built from the ground up for theorizing, something Matt pointed out multiple times throughout his theories and why I've been so excited to cover it. Along with FNAF and the MCU, Gravity Falls was one of the shows that really drove an entire generation.
That is true. Like, it was made for theorizing what's going on. Made to guess what is happening. And all that. So I can understand his excitement for it. I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. Still am. I'm actually hoping for a sequel for the show, but I'm not getting my hopes too high.
Generation of theorists. So, when Disney announced the Book of Bill, a new addition to the Gravity Falls canon written by Alex Hirsch himself, I couldn't wait to get my grubby little theorist hands on it. Excuse me, the spirit of Grunkle Stan just kind of possessed me there. See, unlike a lot of other shows from the same period like Adventure Time or Steven Universe, there wasn't a lot of Gravity Falls. It got in, told its story in 2 seasons, and then ended. People desperately wanted more of it, which is why people are so hyped for this book. It's promised to show us more of this world and its characters, and let me tell you, friends, this thing is dense. We learn so much about this world, about its history and lore, secrets about each of our main characters, and about Bill himself. And that's without cracking any of the mysteries and codes inside. You guys have been asking us to cover this book for weeks at this point, and believe me, we've heard you. We've been working on this in the background and wanted to make sure we approached it right. And just to be upfront here, friends, there's a lot here. So much in this book, in the surrounding media and ARG, that there's no way this won't be at least 2 episodes. So today, for this theory, we're just going to be looking at the contents of the Book of Bill itself and what it tells us about the future.
So it's gonna take 2 episodes to really get down to it. Alright, that's fair enough, I guess. I mean, there's bound to be a lot of stuff. I mean, Bill's ending was pretty vague, to say the least. No, seriously, it was very, very vague.
of this franchise. But don't you worry, it tells us a lot about the future of Gravity Falls. The main thing? Well, it's spelled out clearly in this book in bold, underlined letters, but Bill Cipher is alive. He
Obviously.
survived the events of Weirdmageddon, and that might mean the doom of the entire multiverse.
True.
But, well, someone's looking out for us. Shake my hand, friends. It's time to get weird. So, probably the first thing we should mention about the Book of Bill is that it canonically originates within the Gravity Falls universe, like the literal physical book itself. It's a tool that Bill uses to psychically link with the reader, and it haunted Ford over in...
You mean it's canonically in... Okay, that's actually... Okay, you really caught my attention here. Alright, throw me the beans.
Gravity Falls until he got sick of it and threw it into a dimensional rift left behind by Weirdmageddon. It then ended up in our world, where the reader finds it and is offered a deal by Bill Cipher. Also, just want to say, in the lore and story of this world, Alex Hirsch must have found this book first, and that confirms our previous theory during Matt's retirement party that he was possessed by Bill Cipher. The author blurb on the back of the book sleeve reads, "Hi friends, I'm Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Town, and I'm definitely not possessed by a demon right now," and on it goes. Alex then assures us that he's definitely fine and is not calling out for help. He thinks the author doth protest too much. Regardless, the book is in our world now, and it's literally infecting other books, while also summoning Bill to broker an agreement with us, let's say. Yeah, he offers us a deal. He'll tell us all about his backstory, but in exchange, we'll owe him a favor somewhere down the road. It's at this point that we're given a choice to say yes or no, and man, I got excited. I thought this was going to be one of those awesome sort of choose-your-own-adventure books, so naturally, as someone aware of Bill's shenanigans, I said no and flipped to the page it specified, and, well, there was some very small text upside down on the top of the page. It basically told me that not shaking Bill's hand meant that I was going to live out the rest of my life in the most boring way possible. As a middle manager at a mustard factory in Idaho with 4 children, Gervis, Horvin, Borley, and Smunt. Poor Smunt. On the real, I am absolutely the sort of person that would name like a cat Smunt, and I apologize to my future cat because, well, your name is Smunt. Okay, so it really seems like if we want all of the new, juicy lore in this book, we need to agree to Bill's terms. And hey, well, I've sold my soul for less. We agreed to this deal, and
Fair.
whoa! In one of the coolest bits of meta storytelling I've ever seen in this sort of product, Bill starts laughing maniacally and literally rips his way through the book into our reality. Honestly, it's really slick stuff and a bit terrifying, and though you might expect Bill to immediately kill us here and move on, nah, he doesn't. He actually keeps up his end of the bargain, and then some. As you can imagine, diving into the Book of Bill has taken a ton of my time that I only have thanks to the sponsor for today's episode, Incogni. How many
Okay, can't deal with that one. And...
before, and I personally use the service.
Nope. And there we go.
Use the code Film Theory to get 60% off that annual plan. Thanks again to Incogni for sponsoring this episode, and now let's reopen the pages of the Book of Bill. At this point, the content of the book becomes super varied, bouncing between sections that look like magazines, Q&As with Bill about the concept of love, a how-to guide on how to get into heaven. It's mysteriously left blank, so immediately you get what Bill thinks about that idea. There are tons of hidden codes that you'll need to decipher if you want the whole story, and there's even just straight-up excerpts ripped from a book called The Great Gatsby. This was a novel by F. Scott Fitzgerald that everybody had to read in like the 7th grade, which just entered the public domain a couple of years ago, so hey, why not? It's still weird, but why not? But a couple of my favorite sections? Well, first off, there's a whole section talking about urban legends and cryptids that look like they're ripped straight out of some analog horror here on YouTube. There's slander.
I mean, not wrong. That looks like some different media sources of different horror-related stuff. Creepypastas, something about FNAF too, I think. Well, indie horror, at least, in my opinion, that is.
man who lies about people, Guillermo del Torso, who has a passion for cinema and has written a script for National Treasure 4, the Off Model, which
Okay.
is a monster that looks like bootleg IP and would just like legitimately be a good monster for this sort of analog horror. Can we make that? And the
Ew.
Mirror Dimension that contains monsters like Bloody Mary, Dysmorphio, and David Lynch. Yes, as in film director David Lynch. I am losing my gosh dang mind because this is hilarious and exactly the sort of humor just made for me. Then there's a whole section about the concept of morality, which Bill believes is 100% flexible and that karma is a scam. He's immediately hit in the eye by a paper airplane after he says that, so I mean, you be the judge of whether or not he's right. That's funny, but the whole reason that I'm pointing this out is that he gives us, the reader, a moral test here. On this page, he's imprisoned an elf named Scrimbles with bones made of glass. If we turn the page and continue on our journey to learn all about the new lore, we'll crush Scrimbles and he'll die. That's hilariously dark and, well, I mean, sorry Scrimbles, there's lore to uncover. Forgive me. We also get some new lore about the Pines family. There's a whole section dedicated to the missing pages of Journal 3 and Ford's earliest interactions with Bill, and another where Bill talks about the dreams of many of the main characters, including Dipper. Bill explains that Dipper has a recurring nightmare about overhearing a fight between his parents that he wasn't supposed to hear, before wondering why Dipper and Mabel got sent to Gravity Falls for the summer on such short notice. Yeah, that's pretty dark, implying that this whole series only exists because their marriage was falling apart, and the parents needed Dipper and Mabel out of the house while they worked out what to do. Ouch, that one.
Okay, that's a very harsh thing to hear about, in all honesty. Like, gosh, dang, that's this whole thing where they were supposed to go outside, have fun, be normal kids, and all this and all that, instead of laying in the house. It was just basically all a ploy to make them leave so that they can, well, that's, yeah.
Hits right in the feels. But okay, that was a lot of the fun, if weird and dark stuff here in the book. What's the real meat and potatoes, though? Where's the real lore? Well, again, true to his word, Bill tells us exactly where he comes from. Bill explains that he's from a world called Euclidia, where no one could comprehend the third dimension, but he was born with a mutation that lets him see into the third dimension. This was apparently cursed and forbidden knowledge. Bill claims that talking about the third dimension was illegal in his world. Despite this, Bill still wanted to share the truth with the rest of his people, but, well, we're not sure what happened, and neither is Bill. He says that he heard a loud buzzing and that he blacked out, and that he still does whenever he thinks about this, but when he came to, no one was alive in his universe except for him. He killed them all. Now, in this very explanation, Bill says that he's not some misunderstood character that can be humanized by a tragic backstory, but I'm not so sure about that. Like, don't get me wrong, Bill is a bad guy, an awful person, and definitely a villain, but I'm not so sure he ended up that way all on his own. At the beginning of this section, we see Bill bursting through a wall behind a TV with a strange symbol on it. Well, this is actually from the cover of a story called Flatland, written by Edwin Abbott Abbott. In
Flatland?
Flatland, a two-dimensional square is visited by a three-dimensional sphere, who teaches him to look outside of his perspective. And once the square learns about the third dimension, he tries to convince his fellow 2D shapes, but is jailed for what is considered madness. Perhaps something similar happened here with Bill, with some multi-dimensional being enlightening Bill and sending him down his villainous path. Regardless, the result is the same. Bill ended up killing everyone in Euclidia and moved on to a new universe. From here, Bill found himself in the Nightmare Dimension, where he formed a band of ne'er-do-wells called the Henchmaniacs to help him get up to all sorts of shenanigans. We actually know most of these characters from the actual show. For 1 trillion years, they robbed banks together, crashed planets together to make them kiss, conquered dynasties, and even recorded a Christmas album. But not all good things can last. Eventually, the Nightmare Realm came apart at the seams as entropy caught up with the universe and destroyed it. Bill then ended up in the series from the universe and was drawn to the area that would someday become Gravity Falls, where he met a shaman who created the prophecy of the 10 cosmic symbols from the series and banished Bill from the area. From here, Bill traveled the world and encountered different societies, the Aztecs and the Egyptians and the indigenous people.
Huh. That's interesting. Very interesting. So he's been a part of almost every civilization on the planet, if I'm correct. That's something to really think about, in all honesty.
Of Easter Island. He also explains that Atlantis was real and apparently existed around the time of King Henry VIII. Seems like a major lore drop there, and I really want to know the implications of the whole world just like forgetting Atlantis was a thing, where it was, and how it sank. Fast forwarding past the events of Gravity Falls and Weirdmageddon, it's revealed that Bill did in fact survive being erased along with Stan's memories. He made a deal with the great Axolotl, who promised to let Bill live if he could overcome his greatest trial. The most dangerous thing Bill could possibly face: therapy. Yeah, really, the
What?
Axolotl sends Bill to a dimension outside of time called the Theraprism, where he has to make up for all of his cosmic crimes. What goes around, comes around, huh? Regardless, this book is actually a project that Bill is working on while in therapy, and he smuggled it out of the Theraprism and into our reality against the rules of the institution. But Bill signs off the book by promising that someday he will get out. Someone will let him out, and we might have an idea just to who that is. At the very, very end of the book, I'm talking like the last couple pages, we see a picture of the Bill Cipher statue in the woods from the end of the series. However, if we turn the page, we see that same statue again, but its eye has started glowing. Why would the statue suddenly come to life here? Well, zoom in and look at his hand. A bird is perching on it. Has this bird shaken Bill's hand and unwittingly agreed to become his new host just by looking for a place to land? Maybe, yeah. In the days leading up to the Book of Bill's release, a Twitter account called the Oregon Parks Department opened as a viral marketing campaign and included pictures of a bird known as the Western Meadowlark. Look at this thing. This is a real
Holy
bird that
cow. That's a nice looking bird. But it's so off-putting. Like it like its design is based off Bill.
is the spitting image of Bill Cipher. The yellow chest even has a little black top hat shape at the top. This little birdie might have
Yeah.
just given Bill Cipher the wings he needed to fly out of the Theraprism and back into the world of Gravity Falls once again. So yeah, that's the story of the Book of Bill, and a small hint to where things might be going. But that's just the topmost layer. We've already touched on a few of them, but this book is packed with additional secrets hidden if you read between the lines, and codes to crack that let us know so much more about this world. For instance, the Book of Bill confirms that there's a Gravity Fall multiverse in play here. In the Parallel Dimensions section, Bill points out just how improbable it was that Dipper and Mabel survived all of the events of the show without getting erased, drowned, frozen, or dismembered. But that's only because we're in the only timeline where that didn't happen. Yeah, in basically every other one, Dipper and Mabel die horrible deaths at the hands of all the freaky stuff from the series. What's more, the entirety of this multiverse is actually contained within a Pokemon card, like literally a Pokemon card, in the backpack
Wait,
of
wait,
an
wait,
unfathomable...
wait. What? That's a... You know how dumb that sounds? Like, no joke, you know how dumb that sounds. I hope you all know how dumb that sounds to me. Because it sounds really dumb.
being outside of time named Dennis. Considering that our universe is part of this Gravity Falls multiverse, that means that we too are part of this Pokemon card. And it's not even shadowless. That's tragic. Oh, and speaking of, on this
Ugh.
page explaining the Pokemon card multiverse, if you look closely, you'll see a series of symbols running down the side of the card. This is obviously a cipher, and when you decode it, it reads, "Warning, folding this card may result in crossovers." That, in and of itself, is a fun nod to the amount of multiversal crossovers we've gotten in the past few years, but there's actually a lot of crossovers hidden in this very book that create a really wide Disney cartoon cinematic universe. For instance, a Titan skull from the Owl House, another series that Alex Hirsch worked on, can be found in this section about the Dark Ages, while there's another rune cipher in that same section that translates to Titan blood. Later on, the Core's helmet from Amphibia can be seen in the Theraprism alongside Bill, and finally, early on in the Bill Tells All section, Bill is asked if he's the biological father of Phineas from Phineas and Ferb, before ending the interview. Phineas's triangle head suddenly makes a lot more sense, doesn't it?
I don't want to think about that one. I really don't. That's like no. No, I don't want to think about that anymore at the moment. Now you got it stuck in my head and now I can never forget it. Thank you. Thank you for giving me that cursed information. Because now I'm trying to figure out how Bill is able to reproduce. F you for that one. No, I'm joking about that part though. Because that just sounds plain ridiculous. But now I'm thinking, is it possible? So, yeah. Yay! Curse knowledge! What everyone wants in their life.
Regardless, all of this alongside Matt's previous theory that Rick and Morty also takes place in this same multiverse really means that there's a giant web of animation that's all connected here. Might just need to do a theory about that sometime, huh? Now, a lot of the hidden codes and mysteries in here are fun, like this Pokemon card connection, but others, well, not so much. Some of them are crazy complicated and hint at a darker story for Bill, one filled with regret and sorrow. For example, there's a code hidden in one of the pages in the Barnes & Noble edition of the book. Yeah, if you didn't know, Barnes & Noble had an exclusive version of the Book of Bill which had additional content. Something that none of us here at Theorist realized until we'd already gotten our copies off of Amazon. Thank God for overnight shipping. Regardless, in the Messages on Your TV section in the Barnes & Noble edition, at the very bottom of the page, you'll notice a series of square color blocks. At first, I thought this was just a weird, glitchy effect to really drive home the analog nature of this page, with the scan lines and chromatic aberration and all the VHS goodness. But there's actually a pattern to these colors. Yeah, they correspond to letters of the alphabet, and if you decode the right order, it spells out the message: he never sleeps, he never dreams, but somehow still he hears their screams. This has to be about Bill. He isn't sleeping or dreaming, but he's still haunted by the screams of everyone he's killed. This is further driven home on the page covered in silly straws. There's a line of digits that all correspond with episodes of Gravity Falls and time codes within them. And when the words spoken at these time codes are all strung together, we get this message.
Twisted out shape after them kill the
Ghosts
of his family.
haunting
Him still.
If that was a bit hard to follow, it says twisted out of shape after the kill.
No, I heard it. Yeah, I'm just surprised by it.
The ghosts of his family are haunting him still. The memory of his parents, his original homeworld, are still haunting Bill, even after all these trillions of years. Also, we actually learn the name of his parents through another code in this book, and this has to be one of the most creative ciphers that I've ever encountered in my time here at Theorist. On the codes page, despite Bill insisting that there are no codes in this book, you'll notice a ring of letters carved into the tree here on this page. That might seem a bit random at first, but these letters line up perfectly with something else in the book. All throughout the pages, sometimes there are coffee ring stains that are a perfect size to fit inside this ring of letters. And there are gaps in the rings that line up with individual letters. And not only that, but there are other stains, little dots around the gaps that tell us the order of the letters here. If you spell out all of the letters from the rings and put them in the correct order here, it makes a new message that reads, "His dimension now deceased, Scalene in Euclid, rest in peace." A scalene is a type of triangle with sides and angles of all different lengths and degrees, while Euclid was an ancient Greek mathematician with expertise in geometry. These are the names of Bill's parents, the ones that still haunt his dreams, the ones who he can still hear the screams of. That is so dark and so cool, and one of the best puzzles I've ever encountered in a book like this. Seriously, a clap and a half.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. It does sound interesting when you think about it.
For Alex here. But for as cool as that is, something's weird here, right? A lot of the codes in this book are written by Bill himself, and you can tell when they are. He has his own very specific way of speaking and his own rune cipher that is consistent for his character, but a lot of these, they don't sound like Bill, or they're talking about Bill. No, someone else is writing codes in here, and there are a few options, and who it is might end up being very important if Bill is truly coming back through that bird. First option? Well, the clear and obvious choice would be the axolotl. He's already shown to be more powerful than Bill, enough to put him in therapy, so maybe he's trying to help Bill work through some stuff here. But that's also the most obvious option and the most boring. The second and less obvious option? Well, it could be the people that he's possessed over the years. Yeah, for real. We learn in the book that Bill isn't alone inside of his head. At the bottom of the page about skin, there's a section that gets cut off called Learning is Fun, but it's not what you'd expect. Instead of more factoids about skin, we're shown a cry for help from someone named Grebly Himberdrek of Zimtrex 5, one of thousands of souls that Bill has
What?
consumed over the years. It's not entirely clear how this would happen, but I think it's a pretty safe guess to say that these souls Bill consumed were the people that he's made deals with, and now they're stuck inside of Bill's mind, where he plays Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch on loop forever.
That's actually a horrifying thing to succumb to. I mean, can you imagine that? Being trapped in that guy's head for all of eternity. Must be an actual nightmare.
That's actor Mark Wahlberg's previous career, by the way. Yes, he was a rapper, really. This also tells me that Alex Hirsch and I
believe
have
you.
a very similar sense of humor, because I died laughing when I read this and immediately went and listened to the song. As a wise man once said, I want to get mine, so get yours. I want to see sweat coming out your pores. Regardless, we see here that one of these characters was able to take the wheel away from Bill enough to write this blurb. Perhaps they're also writing these secret codes and will help us fight Bill when he comes back. Or maybe the fight will be way more personal, with option number 3, Bill's ex-girlfriend.
Wait,
All throughout the book, Bill
what?
makes a point to
Bill Cipher. That guy who has no remorse for anything or anyone has a girlfriend. Yeah, excuse me if I don't believe you, because that sounds like bullshit.
avoid any questions about his own romantic history. In the love section, he redacts a couple of lines before exclaiming that his ex-partners were not relevant because I don't have any. Yeah, sure, Bill, sure. Later, while introducing his crew of henchmaniacs, one of them is completely scribbled out in red marker with a big label saying, not important. If you look through the red marker, you can barely make out that this character's name is Jessie, and her art looks like she has a lot of eyes, maybe 7 of them. If that doesn't mean anything to you, fair, but if you devoured Journal 3 when it released like we here at Theorists did, you'll recognize that this character looks and sounds a lot like a character known as the Oracle. This is a 7-eyed
Oracle?
woman named Jessel Brom the Unswerving.
Bill dated an oracle? Wow, that's okay. I guess he dated an oracle. That just immediately sounds like a weird thing, because aren't oracles supposed to prevent chaos like Bill? But yet he dated one and she agreed to date him, and yeah, you see where I'm going with this thought process? Is it just me? Am I the weird one here? Gosh, I hope not. That would be very sad if that's the case.
A name that could easily be shortened to Jessie, a character that Bill clearly doesn't want us to think about because she is his ex-girlfriend. That would explain why Jessie didn't show up in Weirdmageddon. If she and Bill broke up on bad terms, enough so that Bill wants to scrub her out of his own history, yeah, she wouldn't want to show up for that. Maybe she's the one who is writing these codes about Bill's regrets, something that she would know as his ex-partner, trying to help us find a way to beat him in the future. To me, that is the most exciting option, Jessie coming back and trying to help defeat her evil ex once and for all. But we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, all in all, that's the story and the codes hidden in the Book of Bill. It's a lot, and there are puzzles and ciphers here that go even deeper, and weird choices that might not make a lot of sense if you read this book with zero context. Like, for real, I mentioned this earlier, but there are just straight up several pages ripped from The Great Gatsby republished in here. Strange, right? Well, there was a reason for that, one that starts us down a whole new rabbit hole. Let me explain. After we accept Bill's offer at the beginning of the book, it sort of resets, and we're given a new cover and a new page full of all the publishing information of the book. All of this information is now themed around Bill, and at the bottom of the page, we're encouraged to visit thisisnotawebsite.com. If you did that early on, like right after the book was released, you were asked for a password. What was this password? Well, early on in the book, we're given the one true intelligence test, and one of the puzzles just looked like a bunch of random lines and squiggles. And if you look physically at this image at an extreme angle, the lines form into words and gives you this message. Need a password? Fine, I'll talk. It's the name of the eyeball doc. And guess
Eyeball
what?
doc.
The pages of The Great Gatsby talk about the eyeball doctor, T.J. Eckelberg. Type T.J. Eckelberg into the website, and bam, a whole new world is opened up for us to explore. Now, this theory is already long long. I wish we could dive into this whole new part of the ARG today, but we just don't have time. I can, literally hear our editors angry at me because this video is already longer than 20 minutes. But this is me promising you right now that we are going to do a second theory all about thisisnotawebsite.com as soon as we can. And just like the Book of Bill tells us so much about the future story of the Gravity Falls universe, I think this ARG is telling us exactly how Alex Hirsch and Disney are planning on doing it. So please subscribe for that theory coming really soon because it's gonna be weird, y'all. But until then, remember that it's all just a theory. A film theory. And
That is an interesting theory, in all honesty. I have to admit that it is really eye-catching, in a way. What does it all mean in the end? It honestly makes me wonder, will Dipper be the one to be a part of this? Like, he'll be one of the causes, or maybe he's just gonna go to Gravity Falls and then confront Bill by complete accident, maybe. That would be really interesting if that was the case, in all honesty. A showdown between Bill and Dipper, one-on-one. But it also makes sense how Bill was able to know all this information, because he did make a pact with Dipper, so it would make sense that he still has somewhat of a connection, thanks to all of this and the axolotl and therapy and all that. He's still connected to Dipper in some way, shape, and or form. And that's an interesting thought process, in all honesty. Wonder how it'll all turn out in the end. I'm really anxious for that new part. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when the video comes out. And yeah, other than that, I'll see y'all next time. Oh, and tell me what you think about this in the comment section below. I'd really like to hear your opinion on the matter. But yeah, for real, this time, I hope you all enjoy, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!